turn to the right.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima and I'm here checking out Stubbs the Zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse. This is one of those cult classics that was on the original Xbox that only ever made it to PC, but in a really shoddy PC port that it took them years to update. It was on Steam originally, but it became so unstable that they took it off sale. But they've re-released that Steam port along with a new version for consoles and such that makes it a bit more stable, adds Steam achievements and proper controller support, and just lets you go for it, basically. But there is a little bit of a problem with this PC port, and I'll go over that now while I'm on the subject. And there's a few problems, actually. One is that, for some reason, I had to do the tutorial twice. It just kind of locked up, and I wasn't able to get through the tutorial, and I had to do it again. The second thing is that the sound is kind of off, in the sense that there's very little in the way of music, which just seems weird. The voices are a little bit unbalanced, so someone who's like really far away might actually sound really loud. And there's a couple of things like that with the sound effects too. And if you press a button on the keyboard, the controller inputs will stop working. I played this game on controller because it was on the original Xbox. That's just kind of what you do. So yeah, you have to Alt-Tab away from the game and Alt-Tab back in. There are a few options that you can do, like the brightness of the game, the gamma, and the full screen and windowed, VSync, and a couple of other things off to the side, like the sound and what have you. But notably, if you put this game in windowed mode and then put it back in full screen mode, it stretches the image really weirdly. You need to be a little bit careful about that. These are all minor things. I did play 4 hours of this game on this PC port, relatively fine outside of all of this. So I'm just pointing out that it is okay to play in general, but it would be nice to see a solution to all these problems. With that said, what's the game actually about? You're Stubbs. You're a zombie. You've risen in what is basically the futuristic version of a town in the 1950s, and you go around and you eat people's brains. More or less. There is a story going on in the background, but of the game that I played, very little of it is actually resolved. So there's not that much going on in the way of story, at least not until the very end anyway. I got up to level 11, and there are 12 levels in the game, and I played it for about 4 hours, so it's a relatively decent length considering they're selling it for 20 bucks US. And I gotta tell you though, the first hour or so of the game is probably the best, at least from what I've been playing of it. There are some good parts throughout. It is dips and valleys, but in order to explain why, I need to tell you what the actual gameplay is like. So you're Stubbs, you wander around, you can slap people, and over the course of the game you get these unique abilities. So you get the ability to fart, to stun people, you get the ability to throw stomach grenades, you get the ability to roll your head along the ground for a massive explosion, and you get the ability to throw your hand out and possess people. So the idea of the game is that you go through, you defeat enemies, and pretty much any way that you defeat them, other than by possessing someone or running them over with a vehicle, will result in them rising again and becoming a zombie on your side. And they will wander throughout the level, look for enemies to fight, and they can even convert other people to zombies. So throughout the first couple of levels, you're wandering through, you're attacking people, you're getting a decent lineup of zombies, and then the cops start showing up, and you have to use your zombies relatively creatively. You've got the ability to whistle to make them come to you, and you've got the ability to shove them in a particular direction, which in this particular generation, where it would have been really annoying to have NPCs to stand around in places you want to go, having the ability to just shove them out of the way is surprisingly gratifying. But yes, you're wandering throughout these levels, the cops are starting to show up, you're eating civilians' brains in order to have a decent zombie army, and you have to do things like use them as bullet shields to get close for using things like your fart cloud, which will stun enemies for a limited time, and then all of your dudes can run up to the enemy and eat their brains, turn them into zombies, and suddenly your army's just doubled in size. Or you can use them as bullet shields while you sneak around the back, because this game does actually have the ability to crouch and do stealth and what have you, at least to a point. They'll be focused on the other zombies so that you can sneak up behind them. And getting someone from behind is actually an instant zombification. You can just immediately eat their brains, and eating their brains refills your special abilities, which you want to be doing constantly. You want to be using them constantly because they're all very useful. Being able to fart in order to get a bunch of people at the same time. Being able to use your hand to possess someone and use that to take out a bunch of problematic enemies. Throwing grenades and using your head in order to get a big bunch of people at once, whether it be to hurt them or kill them outright so that they'll rise again. And as a result, the first hour or two has a bunch of levels in, like, not so much tight corridors, but in relatively tight spaces where you can really take advantage of the fact that you've got abilities that have area of effect. You can take advantage of the fact that you can corner a bunch of people with your zombies. You can take advantage of the fact that they're good bullet shields. And the levels are really well designed in the first hour or so to really work around this concept. So you feel powerful. You have a really good time using your abilities strategically, walking up to these zombies, and walking up to these people and very slowly turning it into a scene worthy of chaos. My favorite scene in the game is in the police station, which I'm probably going to show you in this footage, where you can possess zombies throughout the level because it's like a circle of hallways around a central room. And then you get to the central room and it's like, oh, we can go and defeat these zombies and they all look like they're ready for battle. Then you wander in one door and eat one's brains off and it looks like it's going to be a tough fight. Then all the other doors open from around the outside and the zombies that you zombified earlier wander into the room and start eating people. And it is immensely satisfying to watch it go from what's going to be a tough fight to just absolute chaos, then to a one-sided fight. Or whether it be like you bring a couple of zombies into a room full of prisoners and then you open up all the prisoners' cells and they try and fight back but they absolutely can't, and all the zombies start flooding out. So you've got a bunch of prisoners on your side and then a bunch of dudes in riot gear turn up and it's just a absolute slap fight. Those sorts of things are what this game is best at. Clever ways to use your zombies and just cool fights where you need to take advantage of what your zombies are capable of. Which is a shame because the later levels in the game seem to walk away from this premise. They have these really wide open areas that have trouble with managing to let you use strategy effectively. You just kind of have to hope your zombies ramble in the right direction. They introduce enemies that are stronger so that when you get behind them to eat their brains, it isn't an instant kill anymore, it just lets you take off their arm and then slap people with it. This does let you kill enemies faster and let them get back up faster, but it does mean that you don't get your special ability energy back, which means that if you want to get your special ability energy from these people, you have to rip their arm off, drop the arm, and then you have to eat their brains while they're running around scared, which can be kind of hard to do under pressure. And they start introducing a lot more of these enemies into later parts of the game, so, to the point where almost every enemy ends up being one you have to tear the arm off of before you can eat their brains first, which makes the game pace really slow, especially when they start introducing the military dudes that have really powerful guns. You do have regenerating health, which is a nice touch, and you can even regenerate a little bit of health by eating brains, but when you've got two dudes firing at you with guns, it can be kind of annoying to get your special ability energy back, especially when they start putting you up against stronger stuff like tanks. And as a result, it feels like it's just getting away from that base concept of strategically building up your army and then using it to take out stronger foes. Especially when they start introducing things like vehicle sections, when all you can realistically do is go run people over and laugh at the funny physics. It's fun the first time, but then they make you do it like 3 more times, and it just gets kind of annoying after that. And I gotta admit, I'm a little bit disappointed they just don't stick with what they're really good at for a lot of the game. They do even do some really weird things, like at the end of the police station section, they have you do a dance battle, which is basically a Simon Says mini game. It's a bit weird and out of nowhere, and it kind of works to the game's sense of humor, but it's just, yeah, again, gameplay doesn't really benefit from having it be a sudden dance battle. Although I gotta tell you, the sense of humor in this game, if you've ever played Destroy All Humans, if you like that, play this. The sense of humor is almost exactly the same. It's the same jokes, it's the same setups, it's the same sense of black humor that is just running throughout Destroy All Humans, and it is still legitimately funny. I did laugh out loud multiple times at certain situations in the cutscenes, in the voice acting, in the game in general, really. It is legitimately enjoyable in both the cutscenes and just general sense of ridiculousness that's got going on, including the over-the-top gore with massive geysers of blood, huge amounts of brains being spat out on the floor, and how a zombie horde just looks disgusting, but in a cartoonishly enjoyable way. As I said, the game's got 12 levels, and I played about 4 hours and got to level 11 on the tough difficulty. So it is somewhat short, but they're only charging $20. And considering that the game will likely go on sale, it'll probably be more than worth it. Admittedly, I did enjoy my time with it. And there are some levels later on which do go back to the whole strategically biting people's heads off so that you can grow your zombie army as fast as possible and sending them in ahead of you to be a bullet shield or use them to your strategic advantage. They do this multiple times throughout the game. There are stages with the military dudes where they're on thin enough streets and there's enough obstacles in the street to make it matter. There's a bit later with like research scientists with their ray guns, but for every level that they do that, there's another level where you have to hop in a vehicle half the time, and the vehicles are just Halo. Because funnily enough, the people who made this were all people who worked on Halo Combat Evolved, but they're all people who, it feels exactly like Halo. The physics, the death animations, pretty much everything like that feels like Halo. So it's pretty floaty, and it just involves running people over, which doesn't turn them into zombies, which is not that much fun, I gotta admit. But then you've got just like really wide open areas that don't let you strategize that much. You've got situations like needing to defend yourself from an incoming wave of people while you infect the water supply. I won't spoil how you do it, but considering the childishness and the goriness of this game, I'm sure you can guess how it happens. And there are just a couple of other things which just don't work to this game's strengths. But at the same time, I enjoyed the parts where it works to the game's strengths well enough that the $20 asking price isn't that bad for me. I actually appreciate it for that price. Although, if it does go on sale, it goes from a cautious recommendation, like, yeah, some of the game's not that great, to, if it goes down to like $10, that goes up to absolutely, it's a hell of a lot of fun to get through the parts where you're just slowly building up your zombie army, that it becomes an easy recommend, even with the PC port being as twitchy as it is. I did enjoy it. I thought it was funny. The gameplay is fun, and it's a really old game, so it'll run on a potato. So, yeah, good fun. I'll let you watch some more of it. This has been Blue Maxima. I'll see you all next time.
Spit that out, damn it! Sit down. You like that? I'll show you what for. Why me? Right. Let's rumble.
I'm dying.
Look, there. This won't leave any marks. Die, die, die. This won't leave any marks. Gotcha! Oh, filthy hand off me! It's gotta hand that somebody! I'll clean up these streets! Let me give you a hand. It's over here. There's one! What? Why me? Why me? someone else! In my head!
Smile!
It's got a head at somebody! My arm! It's a brain! I see one of them! Denial! Funny! Zombie man! Zombie! Right there! It got me! Help! Good gravy! That thing's got a hold of me!
I'll beat you down. Time for batting practice. Look, there. I'm working on pain. That's enough. Hold on.
I can take this life!
Hold your fire.
Never stand in front of my gun! This won't be any worse.
Right there. I'll beat you down.
Son of a...
They're working on.
Hold it! This won't be any worse. Have some 45 caliber justice. I see. What the hell is wrong with you? Maybe that'll get you some smile. Why is no one responding? Oh! This won't leave any marks. Risk on or policeman radio. Let's be careful out there. This won't leave any marks. Smile. Do ya? Damn it! I'll show you what for. I'm bringing you in. I'm bringing you in. Maybe you'll enjoy this. He's got me! It's gonna hand at somebody! Oh! Ow! You can't find City Hall.
Useless.
Stop hitting me! I'm glad you came directly to my office. It's much more convenient if I kill you here. You're about to learn you can't escape the long arm of the law. I told you I would dance in your grave, and I meant it.
boyfriend's back. My 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 boyfriend's back.
Beat that, zombie!
No explanation for the massive explosion that destroyed the Punch Bowl police station or...
Oh, Fred, I think we're moving a little fast.
Relax, baby. Ted would have wanted it this way.
I watched him die.
Yeah, like 3 hours ago. Don't live in the past, Judy. It's time to move on.
Oh, Ted. Fred, 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 oh.